Here we are. Short and sweet and to the point. That's what I say. Just
I got to
make this
figure out how
thing
to.
go.
I got to figure out how to be the Superman.
Well, you are
That's
the
a great.
Superman. I'm telling you right now. I
Uh,
found that, and let me tell you, that was such a cool video. And I don't think people realize the idea behind it, because it was when you're able to take your face and it puts it into the video. It's just really cool. And
yeah,
so I love the technology, and I thought I've got to go with this. This is like such me, Wonder Woman. So
that's
yeah.
great.
Anyway, so anyway, I want to welcome everyone to Live Talk with Becky Chernek, and I can believe that will have plenty of Facebook people coming on and saying hi to Dave Cripps for sure. And um, I know you have an extensive background in so many areas, just not the car business, also in real estate. So we've got a really good conversation, but going on for tonight. But to get us going, for those that are new to this channel, meaning Live Talk with Becky Chernek channel, um, not that anyone should know who I am already, but I have.
Everybody should know who you are, Becky.
I'm thinking, right? What the heck is up with that? So this is going live on YouTube. This is also going live in Facebook and LinkedIn. So I want to welcome everyone, and feel free, please, to share your comments, because we want to know what you've got to say. And anyway, so I've been providing the very best in finance and insurance training in automotive dealerships throughout the USA and Canada for a very long time. In fact, we talked earlier about how time goes by so quick. And oh my gosh. So I provide training from the time that customer lands on that dealership website to working with BDC, to working with the salespeople, sales personnel, as well as working on the desk, because how important is that, Dave? And I know that you can certainly understand that based on what your responsibilities and duties are with the auto dealership university. So Auto Dealer University. And anyway, so we'll talk more about that, but then also providing training for F&I people from oh my gosh, from an F&I designated F&I manager to a hybrid to a single point sales associate. So here we are. Thankfully, that's out of the way. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I have such a hard time talking about myself. I don't know what it is. But here you are, and you can start talking about yourself. And I do have one comment here. So, oh my gosh, Larry, thank you so much for being here tonight. Certainly appreciate you. Yeah. So if you will, go ahead, David, and kind of tell everyone what you do, how you do it, and let's talk about the business.
Yeah, so I'm the lead trainer of AutoDealerUniversity.com. We have hundreds of dealers across the U.S. and Canada that we help in growing their dealerships, and you know, ultimately, I think the thing that I've been most blessed with is being able to be in every single position on the front end of a store. From sales to GM, I've held every position, and what makes that unique is that we can come and speak to each person in each position and empathize with exactly where they're at, right? And share the things that not only that I have as experience, but most importantly, working with so many dealers, Becky, you know this. You're able to grab things that's working really well that you see that's happening in a store in real time, and then bring those to other locations, help do that. So I like to think of it as, seeing everything from 30,000 feet. I know we've heard that analogy before, but it really is true. And the main mission is to help every dealer learn as much as possible while we learn right along with them. So, and F&I, obviously that's what we focus on with this podcast or show. And F&I is the heartbeat of the dealership. It really is, right? Everything goes through F&I. Everything's affected by F&I. So I'm just happy to be here to talk about it. And I want to talk about anything that will help dealers move the needle.
Awesome. Well, that's just exactly the reason why I wanted you here, because, the last time we had a chance to really get into it on a live, I think it was about 2 years ago before COVID.
It was actually during the lockdown. I was
It was during
broadcasting.
the
You
lockdown.
were on my
Okay.
show, and I was broadcasting from home during the lockdown. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I knew it was like, I wasn't sure exactly if it was before or yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right. So here we are. And I got to ask, so when you talk about, F&I is the heartbeat of the dealership, I used to believe that. And I'm gonna tell you something. I might shock you a little bit, but I'm starting to see what's going on the desk.
Yeah.
And many dealers are just giving the keys to the guys at the desk, gals at the desk too, not just guys,
Yeah.
to submit deals. And I'm kind of wondering, is that like a smart thing to do? And aren't they the ones that need the training the most then? I mean, F&I needs training with regard to presentations and that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely interview customers and really get into the crunch of it. But what are we doing with the sales managers? Who's really making those guys accountable to what they need to be doing as far as deal structure and lender management? Help me out
Yeah.
with that one.
Yeah. So this is a very controversial thing, right?
It
So
is.
it really goes back to another basic idea, which is, should a sales manager have to work his way or her way through F&I position prior to actually leading on the desk, right? We see a
Yep.
lot of sales managers that that haven't played or haven't been in that role as an F&I manager. I feel like it's a natural progression to move into F&I and then move to the desk. That's just my personal opinion, but that all isn't always the way it is. So that's one thing foundationally. The next thing is when we talk about, hey, should the desk manager be able to submit deals, structure deals, send deals across, and I think the answer in short is that I would say I'm kind of down the middle. I would say that for me, it's a store by store basis. So I see it more in a smaller store where you don't have that huge volume, and I think that it's a little bit more practical maybe if the sales manager is someone who not only wants to do it but is also equipped to do it. So I also believe that the decision for who gets to do that or who is held accountable for that should really come from the top, whether that's the GSM, the GM, or the owner, depending on, again, on how the store is set up and structured. But I kind of feel like it really should be the most talented person. And for me, that typically goes back to an F&I person or an F&I director, because that's what they're doing full time, right? They should be communicating and knowing the programs that are going on all the time with lenders. And I feel like when they know that and they have a grip on that, they have a better shot at getting our best calls as soon as possible. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. And there's a reason for my madness on these questions here with you, David. Trust me. Okay. So we're dealing with a whole different change. Now we've got interest rates going up, and
Sure.
gosh, it's really cool about you. You've got the breadth of both the real estate industry as well as the car industry. You're seeing a lot coming together. But let's stay with the car business for now,
Absolutely.
and if you don't mind. And okay, so here's my struggle. My struggle is, okay, so we have the higher interest rates. We don't have the talent up at the desk necessarily sell. I'm not saying that there's some that don't get it, that the dealer gets it. They promote the right person up at the desk. They get it. But then we have in these other stores, they pretty much shotgun deals to lenders. They're not getting up off the desk. They're not validating any of the transactions. Can we call it the way it is? It's real. It's not happening. And then the issue is, okay, so I'm going to get my best call, whatever that may be. And now, there was me or maybe you back, right, when we would get involved with that customer earlier on from an F&I perspective to get a bet. It didn't matter so much what happened at the desk so much because I erased it anyway. So did you. And we got in there and we just made the deal better. I'm not seeing a lot of that anymore. I'm not seeing F&I people coming out and doing the interview. God bless. I mean, they're just not doing it. And let alone how many times have these guys have told me, oh, Beck, lenders just don't rehash deals anymore. They're just not doing that. So what do you say to that?
I say that I was just in a store very recently and sat in on a call to rehash a deal while the customer was in the finance office live. So I think though that let's take a look at where we're at right now. Business has been very good, right? I mean, dealers have been thriving for a while now. And I think that is partially what keeps someone from necessarily going the extra step, or not even necessarily going the extra step, but finding a way to make a deal work or make a deal better. That's what we have always had ingrained in us, is how do we maximize a deal? Yeah. How do we either make it or make it better, right? Yeah. And part of that was going out and talking with the customer. And obviously, probably every dealer that would be tuning in that really matters, that's listening, knows and has heard over and over again, get F&I involved early. The question is, are we doing it, and why aren't we doing it? And typically it's because our cultures have just allowed us to not have to do it because we're still making money and we don't want to ruffle any feathers in this day and age. I really think that's it, without being too old school. But I don't think you're being old school at all. Yeah. And I think that F&I managers, I think when someone goes into F&I, the best time to create great habits in an F&I person is in the very beginning, right? Most of the principles that I still use today were in the very first part of my career, because they were proven to me that they could be successful. So I think introducing the idea that, hey, as an F&I person, what we want is we want to leverage everything possible to help us either secure the deal or make the deal better. And you and I know, and a lot of our listening audience will know, that if we can go in early as an F&I person and just have a conversation with a customer and get some of the explanations, if you will, as to, how to structure that deal and present it so that we put our best foot forward right from the beginning with a potential lender. But not only that, we get the opportunity, and this is what I meant by leveraging these things, we get the opportunity to build rapport prior to everything else. If for no other reason, an F&I and a manager, by the way, a floor manager, should have an early introduction to a customer, and to create what's going to inevitably happen later is that we're going to be back together again. And we're going to be now, after hopefully we've sold on a car, but now we're going to be into the nitty gritty of getting that deal accomplished. So I think that's just a huge thing, and I'll stop there. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I like what you have to say about that. And we had another Facebook user. I don't know if that's Susan or not from Facebook, but it is about effort. It is about making it a point. One of the things that I always said when I was in F&I, and I always said, before you give up the farm, let me do it first. Let me get involved in this deal, right? Yeah. Let me get engaged with that customer sooner rather than later. And I just see a lot of these guys up at the desk that say, okay, I worked the deal. This is how it's going down. And F&I, you take the deal and you do what you got to do, and you do your menu presentation, call it a day. Whatever that you do in that F&I office. And what I'm saying is, no, no, that's not what we want to do here, because it doesn't necessarily mean that even if the person at the desk is talented, let's just say that they are. Let's say that they have years of experience. Who gives a crap? At the end of the day, that doesn't make you completely like godlike and that you can't make a mistake. We all have been there. Two
Let me,
heads are always better than one. So sometimes what I've said, let's get F&I on the desk. Two heads are better than one. Let's both work a deal together and put this stuff together. When I'm going to see, and then I'm sorry. And then where I'm going with this, David, is I think that we need to, when that deal comes in, we've got to work it. We have to do our best to find a better option, terms that would be available to the customer, not just shotgunning the freaking deal and hoping and praying, hey, this is going down. We're going to get our best call and let's just go. It's about getting involved, interviewing the customer, fact finding, finding information so that way we can share it with the lender. Now I'm going to shut up.
1,000,000%. And I just want to piggyback and say, I've been in stores and I've been so honored to work with some of the best people in the industry. And I have seen the most talented desk managers, male and female, when they have their F&I person who's on duty or an F&I person on the desk with them. This is what's great about it, is when you think about the desk manager whose ego may not let him want to just let things go, or her let things go. When you work with people who are absolutely amazing and they bring in the F&I person on the desk and they're asking them and they're sending them in and using them as a tool, right? What happens is you figure out that desk manager is smarter than everybody, because not only are they talented, but they're taking a lot of things out and delegating it in a sense, but handing it over to a great F&I person takes so much off the plate of the sales manager, right? It's another person that can go in, but not just go in, but go in from an authoritative, position. It makes the customer feel special, makes them think that they're working for them. And a talented F&I manager sets it up in a way where the customer is still sort of on the edge of their seat, waiting for the approval or the way that we can make this work. So absolutely, F&I's got to be in there and on the desk. But can I?
I'll tell you right now, Dave, here's the thing. You need to be a part of some of these clubhouse conversations, because it would blow you away, some of what's going on in there. And it's just like, I don't know. I have a hard time, because it's like, what are y'all talking about? What do you mean? Well, they're a producer and the desk manager makes a decision and just rock. That's what you're doing. You're taking it and you're blowing and going. I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And I don't want to change up too much, but I do want to ask you because I think that this is a subject that has been, controversial for a long time. And I would love to get into, I know that you quizzed me about rates and, what's going on with that, how that's going to affect us and what we need to do there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that as F&I and dealers in general, dealerships approach right now, I think the focus, and this is why, again, F&I heartbeat of the dealership, the focus right now, in my opinion, should be, our message to the public should be all wrapped around rates, And here's why. Because when you couple your messaging as a dealer with the message that the public is already receiving massively, it really connects. It legitimizes everything. So, for example, right now we know, most everyone knows consumer-wise that, hey, if I want a new car, there's a supply and demand issue. I know I'm going to pay probably list price with all the fees and everything else and, all that. Now what I'm hearing is that rates are, increasing every other month and are going to the roof, right? So now I'm like, oh man, now I'm in trouble. I've missed the boat. I missed the opportunity, because now I pay full price, but I don't get the money cheap, which is helping me afford it. Now I got to pay the money, right? But what do we have? We have manufacturers that are still offering money cheap, right? Yeah, you're going to pay for the car, but you can still get the money cheap with a lot of these manufacturers. Plus, in addition to that, we have the lease option, by the way. And by the way, the lease option has never been easier to pitch and to sell than during a market where people who leased are cashing in, right? They've got all this equity that they didn't even have planned, and they're able to cash in on that. Well, now going into this market, even though it might be making a huge correction, we don't know, 2-3 years down the road, this is an easy pitch for dealers to be able to move someone to a lease. And right now, if we move someone to a lease,
God, don't get me wrong on that. I'm just saying there are dealers out there, there are F&I people out there that will just freak you out. They are taking those lease deals and they're turning them to F&I.
oh my gosh,
72 months, 84 months. Would you
Yeah.
go ahead and do it? Just go ahead.
It's just not the
Becky,
time to do
we're
that.
just trying to make
It's really
money.
the
We're
time
just
to
trying
do
to
the-
make a profit.
Yeah, it's really the time to do the opposite. I mean, let's think about where our inventory is now, and we really don't know what it'll look like in 2 years, 3 years. But what we do know is when we lease that customer, there's a good chance we're going to get that inventory back. Not only that, but let's protect the customer while we make money, right? We can protect the customer from a catastrophe. If the market does collapse, they can walk away from the lease. If the market
I would hope,
does, all those things. I don't have to get into all the perks of that, but I think now is the time, like there's been no other, to sell rate and to sell leases from F&I.
hey, you know what? I was born, I know leasing, and for the longest time, well, back in the day, I'm really, again, there I go again, back in the day,
Right.
their day, but we
There.
were actually putting customers who had slow pay history, and Ford used to help us put them in leases. And it just made a lot of sense. And it was like, why pay the high interest rate if you don't have to? And Ford would, meant they would say, get a couple security deposits. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes back to that. But I'll tell you right now, that would be a far better way to go than paying a high interest rate loan for an extended period of time. So it's interesting that you talk about that, because I'm not really going to hit on this too much because I know we only have so much time. But
sure.
I'm talking to everyone about refis, and the reason why I'm going there is because everyone else is. So I go online. There are refi companies left and right. I mean, they are coming up. They are popping up on the internet, online, everywhere. You've got Trezzy. You've got, you've got, who's the other one? Caribou. You've got credit unions, for crying out loud, that now offer refis. Of course, credit unions have always offered refis. You've got Way. You've got others. You've got Upstart and the like that are doing this. And it's like, okay, dealer, what are you doing about it? Are you just going to sit there? And so, interesting enough, everyone's doing a kind of different song and dance when it comes to refi, whether or not they know that they're doing it legal or not legal, which is really kind of interesting. It's like a lot aren't doing it legal. And I'm like, I'm not there to point fingers, but I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is a very interesting topic. And the reason why I say that is because there's a way for dealers to actually do a refi without getting their hands dirty,
Sure.
and be able to build on that relationship. And how important is that, especially now more than ever before?
Yeah, it's huge. And for anyone who's not doing it, I don't say
Legal?
by the book, but legally and ethically, watch out, because we learned, F&I 101, protect the dealer, right? That's our first mission.
Amen.
Is always protect the dealer. And don't think that you are protected because you're not the dealer. That's just not true. And another thing that we're seeing, Becky, is, and I think, again, what are dealers thinking about this when it comes to, a year from now, 2 years from now? But we just had the biggest month of repossessions. And here's the interesting things. Not only were repossessions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Repossessions on the secondary market were, I think, over 23% this past month. And
Really? Okay. Good to
and
know.
here's the surprise, though, is that prime deal repossessions are right now at an all-time high. So there's a lot of
I
things.
would love for you to share that with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on economically. We know the world is wacko right now anyway. I mean, every time you turn around, there's something weird happening. But the point to this is that there's a lot of things that are occurring that are going to affect this market 12 months, 24 months, 36 months down the road. And that's a very short time, by the way, for a dealer. It may not be always for an individual when we're thinking about it, but for a dealer, that's a very short road. So having, strategies wrapped around, what that forecast is looking like and how to be prepared, especially coming out of such a whirlwind of success over the past few years, I think is a really big deal right now and something to really think about.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more on that because I know that everybody had a robust two years of record breaking opportunities, and they took advantage of a good situation. Okay, that's what card people do.
Of
But
course.
but now it's like, is it time? And I don't really, but is like to say it this way, but is it time to pay the piper? And by that I mean, here comes the repos, here they come. And so the other thing that I mentioned is the fact that again, you've got all these online refi companies. Are people just a freaking sleep at the wheel? Is it just me? I'm just wondering, like, what are y'all doing? I mean, maybe I'm the one who's like looking at this and thinking I'm crazy, but I'm seeing this and I'm like, oh my God, okay, dealers, if you don't wake the freak up and realize you got to do something about this, you've got your customers are going to refi. They don't want to repo. They'd rather lower their payments and make it fit in their budget. Okay, so now you got insurance companies. We have credit unions offering that refi option as they always have. And then
Sure.
you've got these other companies that are lining up. Okay, let's have at it. So I say to the dealer, why wouldn't you put something in, have something available to you that you can do something there to offer refi options to your customers instead of sitting back and not doing anything about it? Is it
Yeah.
me?
No, yeah, hey, and if we had that and we actually, had that message and that opportunity out there and promoted it, how many of those deals that would potentially be a refi would actually become a whole new deal anyway? Because it's the same when we have someone come back on a lease. There's a certain percentage of those people who may be coming back to turn in the car that we actually put in a car. So you have that as well. But yes, absolutely. Rather than see that customer and that money go away, potentially be subject to a chargeback if you initially did that deal. There's a lot of great reasons for that. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so many companies, by the way, is just because there has been such a boom in the industry, right? So everybody's wants a piece of that pie. It's the same in real estate. Everybody's an investor now. Everyone's an investor when the market's going through the roof. They all sort of disappear when it starts to drop. We saw that before, and not that I'm predicting or it's going to be some major, catastrophe like it was back in 08, 09. But the point being that, yeah, we need to be conscious of these things. And I think one of the biggest things, and this goes a little outside of F&I, but I think one of the biggest things that dealers should be looking at when we talk about that, that potential change in the market is every day. I think we need to really be examining not only our inventory, but where we're getting our inventory from and what opportunities are there to bring inventory from other places. There's a lot of dealerships that are in trouble right now because they're so heavy into certain things, and there's going to be opportunities to buy from other dealers, to buy through online auctions from other dealers. Obviously, Manheim has a big rate system for that. But the point is, I think that inventory is going to be really key moving forward. And when it comes to our overall message for me from an F&I standpoint for the dealership, I think we need to leverage what's already in the news and focus on the rates. And then, of course, in store, focus on lease conversions.
Well, I think we need to focus on lease conversion, training up at the desk, training our salespeople, getting our skill set back, because at the end of the day, success really has a way of tearing into skill set, into a process. It just
Absolutely.
does. I mean, we just take the path of least resistance. We always work with the sales manager who will do it the way that we want to do it. Pencil the deal the way that we want to do it, and then they end up giving away the farm. But it's like, hey, I love how Tom works the deal. I'm going to Tom. He bypasses everything else, and I'm not there to tear up anyone. I've been in the car business for 30 some odd years. I have the right to my voice, and I'm taking it. So I see what happens in the industry. I get it. So I'm over all the, when you're in this seat, you can this and that and the other. No, I see it. I know what's going on. And the reality of it is some of you guys are blowing deals, and you're not as profitable in that deal as much as you can be. And here's the other reality. These interest rates are going up. Are you aware of that? How are you working that deal from the very beginning? Deal structure. Are you blowing and going and shotgunning deals to a lender without even thinking? Are you getting off your butt? Don't get me wrong. And getting out there, meeting a customer and reviewing the information? Are you relying on a salesperson to go ahead and give you this information? Is F&I getting out there, meeting a customer, reviewing this information, and fact finding to get a better way to put these deals together, right? Building that relationship, as you said, making sure that they have some sort of idea about the customer, and also, is there a better way to put this deal together? Is there a better approval? And you're right. I grew up the same way. I grew up that, hey, your job is a couple things back. Let me tell you right now, your job is to protect the dealership assets. That's what you do, number one.
Yep.
Number two, you're there to make my deal better. And I will tell you, Ralph Massantuano, if you're ever listening up, because I'm from Baltimore, Baltimore Becky. And here's the deal. Here is the deal. Ralph told me, he says, you're the attorney for the dealership. We already have all the reasons why a lender's not going to buy this deal, Becky. We already get that. Your job is to do what?
Is to find a way to have the lender. That's right.
That's right. So real quick, how do you see the real estate business going with these higher interest rates?
Well, it's definitely slowed down the average buyer. Let's just say that. When I say that, what's been really interesting that's happening, and I talked to you before the show, and I mentioned to you, I firmly believe that people buy, whether it's a house or a car, they buy because they can. We always want to buy, but there's certain times when we really can buy. It's easier for us to buy. And it has been an easier time for us to buy. Not only have rates been historically low, but the housing market went through the roof. We all know that. So all of a sudden we're sitting on all this enormous equity, right? So it's super easy for us to go buy another house and move to the location we've always wanted, because the market just made it possible for us to do this, right? Not to mention the pandemic kind of also boosted everybody into these states like Florida.
Who would ever thought that?
Florida.
Florida, yeah. Everybody wants to move to Florida.
That's right. It's great here. Everybody come on down. But here's the thing is that, do raising rates affect that? Absolutely they do, right? It's already taken a lot of average buyers. What I mean by that are people that the rate really does affect, right? Because all of a sudden that payment is, $700 more a month, and that's a big deal. So that's going to be put off. Another thing that's happened, and I think this has been a big gauge of what's to come, is builders and builder sentiment. New home builders have put out there that this has been their worst couple of months in many, many years. And they've had an all-time high of cancellations. Because
Wow.
if you think about it, new home builds, you commit, and then the home may not be built for 9 or 10 months, right? Well, 9
Yeah.
or 10 months of interest rates just going up is a big deal. Not to mention hearing all the news that the market is capped, and why am I going to pay more now? And I'm sitting here thinking about it for 9 months. So that's affecting the market. I don't think prices are going to, they're not going to plummet. There's still demand, all that good stuff, but it does affect things. And
So, do you
yeah,
mind if I'm sorry. The, I guess, when you buy a new home, are you guys, I mean, and it's in construction, do you not come to terms on the rate, by the
that's
rate?
a great question. So here's the reality is that most lenders won't lock you into a rate until you're about 60 days out from closing. So
Oh, wow.
so the price you agreed on and the rate at the time, 7 months ago has changed dramatically. Well, gosh, that
Wow.
that could even affect you getting approved because
Sure.
your payment's going to be higher. It's got to fit into the approval budget. But that's the main thing. Now, there are some ways, just like in our business, the car business, of doing things where you can buy down a rate or buy, kind of commit ahead of time to buy down a certain amount or do certain things that can lock you into certain rates. However, for the most part, most lenders, yeah, it's 60, 90 days, 30 days. It just depends. But I think the norm's around 60 days to lock in.
Well, that's certainly something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
How this is all, and it's good to know because I'll tell you, I bought a home in Atlanta, and I moved there, gosh, in 1997, and I bought a home in 2005, custom built, beautiful, big freaking house, and next thing you know, it's 2007, I think, is when the
Yep.
hit
It
the
hit the
fan.
fan. Yep.
And
It
I'm
hit the
like,
fan.
"What the hell was I thinking?" It took me 15 years to get out of that deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that house sold for 1,000,000 over.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you gotta be kidding me. I couldn't give it away. So I just
Yep.
stuck it out. I just stayed there forever long in a day. But go figure, right? That's just how things go. It's just part of life.
It is. It
Yep, yep.
is.
So, okay. Well, I want to thank you again, David, for
Of course.
spending time with me, Dave, and spending time with us. And it's certainly always a pleasure to have you here with talking with me. And it's been a long time coming. So thank you again for the time. I certainly appreciate it. And
Thank you.
any sort of lasting remarks about anything?
Yeah, thank you. So I would just encourage dealers to not only continue to tune in, obviously, to your show,
Thank you.
because you have had so much value in your show that I've watched many episodes prior and watched you on CBT News and everything else. But I would say, and also as a guest on our show, Auto Dealer Live, that we had for 9 years.
Oh, I
But
know. What a great show that.
it was such a fantastic ride and opportunity with David Villa and the
Yeah.
others. But the one thing I would just say to dealers is that I would encourage you to go to autodealeruniversity.com, not to purchase anything, but just to take a free look, because I think our big value proposition there is that no dealer pays us unless we perform for them. So, for example, there are no contracts with Auto Dealer University. Is a subscription based. There's also some live training opportunities with them. But if you go to the website, you can take a free demo. You can do a 30-day trial. We basically come in, give you the full exposure and really pour into your store with a guarantee that you see a difference in your numbers in the very first month, or you're under no obligation to continue. In other words, we want to give you a taste of it so that you become a customer because you want to, not because you were sold something. So we have a very unique proposition in that way. We service hundreds of dealers across the US and Canada. We've just had a great success, and we really do focus on things that we're dealing with right now today in the showrooms. So we give scripts for what's happening in the marketplace right now. We train on them. We do all sorts of things and we do a lot of live stuff in the store. So we've had reports that salespeople and sales managers watch our videos like Netflix. They binge watch them. It's so powerful because it's a lot of it's shot live in a store with real customers, things like that. It's really incredible. So anyway, that's enough. I'll stop talking about that. But check out autodealeruniversity.com.
Absolutely. And while you're at it, check out www.chernekconsulting.com. And I also provide the very best and go in dealership as well. I'm not trying to compete with you there, Dave, but I got to tell you, I think we're kind of like on the same page there, but I really just try to help dealers and make sure that I certainly help to maximize their profits as well. And anyway, so it is certainly a pleasure to have you here. And then we've got Amy Shelton. Wow, there's my girl. And then we've got no one else offers what I do. Come on now, Amy. What are you talking about? But anyway, it was, you can't have Amy. Amy's for me. I don't know. But I think that we both respect each other in the industry. And I think that's really what I want to bring to the table, because you know what? Everybody has different flavors, and I'm all about that, and providing the very best. You never know. I mean, sometimes we all work together in the industry to help dealers to maximize those profits. And I just love you, David. I think you're really good people. And I want to thank you so much again for being on tonight. And never know. I think you guys are terrific people over there at Auto Dealer University. So thank you again, guys. And we'll do it. We'll do it again next Wednesday. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
There we go.